Hi, my name is Ken and I am here to share my story. So it all started around the age of 12 and 13. My parents aren't Christians, but one time they got asked by my uncles and aunties if I wanted to come to this sport event. It was every Saturday, it was only an hour, but I was a really active kid back then, so I was like, why not? I've got nothing else to do. So yeah, I went there and that's where I started playing badminton first. And at the time I played with a lot of aunties and this other guy who was around my age, and we played badminton for quite a while. But soon after we got pretty bored, so we decided to move over to play basketball with his older brother and the rest of the uncles, and that's where basketball really started for me. That's where I really started to love the game of basketball. And soon after I kind of found out the people that we were playing with, these aunties and uncles and these two brothers, were people who go to church. And at the time they asked if I wanted to go and if my family wanted to go, and my parents weren't too keen on it at first, but then they found out, as most people do, that there was a Chinese school and it was free. So they were like, free Chinese school, let's send him there. So they said yes, that's not a problem, and with that they took me to Sunday school as well, and it was just a great opportunity to actually just meet other young BBCs like myself. So that's where it all started, and that's when I started going to church and then going to Chinese school. But I remember at quite a young age I actually accepted Jesus in my heart, and it was because there were times where we were in Sunday school or Sunday class where the teachers would ask us questions about God, and for some reason I was able to answer them even though I didn't really know him, and that was really weird for me, and I was like, I really wondered why that was the case, and I think it's because God grew more and more in my heart, and yeah, and that's where my love for Jesus really began. But I didn't really accept him publicly because I was quite worried, because my dad was quite against it. He wasn't too keen on Christianity. It was one of those things which really drew me back, but I do remember there was a time a friend came to me about it, and he quoted from the Bible that for everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven. And it hit me that everything has a reason, and that God has everything planned, God has control of everything. And if you take that all away, actually it goes to a simple question where, do you believe in God? And at that time, when I thought about that question, I was like, yes, absolutely. And that's when I really, publicly anyway, accepted Jesus Christ. And that was around the age of 17. I've always said that basketball came from God. I think I've always realised that if it wasn't for God and if it wasn't for basketball, that I wouldn't be here right now. And I've always had basketball in a way where it's a good sense of peace, and it gave me a lot of joy as well. There'd be times where I'd play and it really cleared my head. And I remember around that time it came to a point where I wasn't playing basketball because I enjoyed it. I played it because I was good at it, and I played it because I was playing quite competitively. But I got frustrated a lot, and I asked myself why, and I realised it's because I wasn't playing for God. I was just playing for myself or for a team or something from an earthly perspective, and actually I wasn't playing to the one who gave me this gift in the first place. So during this time, near the end of my university, I also got into a relationship. She wasn't a Christian, but we were dated for almost 5 years. And looking back at things, and a lot of people would say that my life was pretty good, and at the time I was in a relationship. I just finished university, I got a job working at Apple, and I was playing a lot of basketball at the time as well, so from an earthly perspective actually things looked really, really good. I came to a point where one day I just decided to reflect on where I was and how I was doing, and these kind of questions came into mind, things like, who am I? Is this really it in my life? Is this everything that is involved in my life, and that's where it ends? And just from realising that, that's when I realised I missed God, and things then pointed back to God. So when things were pointing back to God, I realised that actually I really wanted God in my life again, because he was the missing piece that I was losing, that I had lost. So in 2014, I made one of the hardest decisions I feel I've had to make, which was to break up with my girlfriend at the time. And it was tough because it wasn't because we were treating each other wrong, but actually it was more because our paths weren't crossing. Our lives weren't intertwining, they weren't going the direction that I thought they would be. And I wanted to pursue God's love, and I wanted to pursue this amazing grace that He gave us, and this was something that I had to do. And during this time I do remember God just kept asking me that, do you love me that much? Do you love me enough to give up this relationship which was so important to me? Are you willing to give that up so that you can have a relationship with me, with God? And that's something I really battled with, and it was tough. It wasn't easy, but over time, God has healed, and He knows everything. He has planned everything for us in our life. So, it was a hard decision, but it's something that I felt that I had to do for God. I had to follow God wholeheartedly. And during that time, and even till now, I still refer to this one phrase, this one verse from the Bible, which says in Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Him who strengthens me. God's taken me to meet some amazing people around the country, even around some different countries. He's allowed me to worship, lead worship in my church and different conferences, to where here we are now at PHAT, and I'm here serving with you guys and praising our God and being able to lead worship in a big way. And it's such a blessing, and never would I imagine I could serve God this way.
This is living now. This is living now.